Hello and welcome to a look at Archon for the Commodore 64, a game that was made by 34 Associates and released by Electronic Arts. There's no plot in this game, but there is a bit of background information which may or may not be of interest. So I'm going to share a bit of it anyway. The light and dark side has been battling against each other for millennia. The light side led by a wizard, and the dark side led by a sorcerer. From time to time summon their minions onto the battlefield and go and have a jolly old time smacking each other about. But even having a good old brawl can get boring after a while, so they have decided that now is the time to have the one deciding battle in order to determine who is going to be the victor and all that good stuff. Looking at the graphics, it is very easy to draw associations to chess. But as you will likely see from the graphics as well, this is significantly more than just chess. First and foremost, instead of having boring old pieces like the knight and the bishop and the king and the queen and that kind of stuff, you have much more exotic pieces available like the knight and the archer, the genie, the dragon, the banshee, and the way they deal and interact with each other is somewhat different from what you would expect from a chess game. You have a white, not white, but light and a dark side, and those two sides are significantly more important than just having two different colors. Because of course the chessboard look-alike board thing has black and white squares. The light pieces are stronger on the white squares and the dark pieces are stronger on the black squares. So when you're playing the game, you definitely want to try and keep your own pieces on whatever color is associated with the side you are playing. But beyond those squares, there are also certain squares which change color over time. It is mentioned as luminescence, where they will start on one color and then cycle through. So if they start on the black color, it will cycle to from black to not so bright to neutral to lightly white to white to lightly white to neutral to and so on and so on and so on. And those squares color change will also reflect on whatever color piece is on it. So a light side piece being on a white square before it changes color will be stronger, but if it changes to a black square, then that piece will be weaker. There's a very good reason for the mechanic being present, because you have perhaps noticed that there are some squares on the board which are glowing with some lightly animated blob thing. There's a total of 5. The wizard will start on one, the sorcerer will start on another, and there will be 3 in the middle of the board. Those are called power points, and you can win in one of 2 ways. Either by knocking out all the opposing player's pieces, or by standing on all 5 power points at any given time. As soon as one of your pieces stands on the 5th, you've won. The different pieces have different movement options. Ground thingies can only move through open squares, flyers can fly over pieces, and teleporters, they are for all intents and purposes flyers. It's just a different way of traversing the board. As you may have noticed, once you walk into an occupied square, you have to fight it out in a battle scene. And of course, the various different pieces have various different attack types. The goblin and the knights are melee only and have to move in and swipe at their opponent. The majority of the other pieces have a ranged attack of some description, and the phoenix and the banshee have a point-blank AoE-like effect that they can trigger, and if you're fighting against them, you of course want to try and stay away from that, because the more time you spend in their AoE effect thing, the more damage your piece will take. On top of having an attack, they also have different attack strength and, of course, a certain amount of health. And that means that if you're fighting something like a troll with a knight, you are at a distinct disadvantage. But at the same time, if you are skilled enough at the game, you can actually beat any piece with any other piece. And that is something that may or may not be exhilarating, frustrating, or outright annoying. The wizard and the sorcerer, they are not just fancy names for the king. They are casters in their own right, and they can cast spells. Things like revive or imprison, teleport, that kind of stuff. But something that is very important is that even though they can cast spells, they can only cast one of each spell. So working out when to use them and how to use them and so on is definitely part of the overall strategy for winning this game. From a graphical point of view, you could argue that it looks a bit on the basic side. The different pieces are symbolized by icons that are lightly animated once they go into a fight against each other. And while it is basic, it is drawn well enough that you can easily distinguish any piece from another piece. The fight arena is very basic, but it serves the purpose it needs to serve, and as such, I think from a graphical point of view, considering this game is from 1983, it's definitely not bad at all. Sound effects are, again, what they need to be, and nothing super exciting, but informative, and as such, they serve the purpose they need to serve. One thing I find a bit unique for, again, a game from 1983 is the fact that the title music is actually quite funky and of a surprisingly high quality compared to many other pling-plong tunes that were common for games of this era. The best way to describe this game is likely by calling it Chess Plus. You have the option to play against the computer, but in order to experience the true scope of the game, you definitely want to play against another player. Something that I find very interesting is, if you are familiar with the game Mail Order Monsters, you can definitely see where the inspiration for the fight sequences in that game comes from. It could be the same individuals that made Mail Order Monsters. I honestly can't remember the names of those developers. But what I will say for this game is that compared to many other games from 1983 and even later on, the quality is surprisingly high, and it is, if you enjoy the gameplay, surprisingly excellent. And on that note, I will say thanks for watching, take care, see you next time, bye bye for now.